a lot of us sit up here and we pontificate about quarterbacks, and I'm sitting there thinking, I never played quarterback. Oh, sometimes in the front yard with a pickup game back in my. And I'm thinking, we got one quarterback here at VSiN, Mr. Shaun King, who we welcome in. I went back and I looked at his career at Tulane because at the back of my mind, I said, listen, he had a great, great year. Yeah, they were 12-0 in 1998 and got Liberty Bowl victory. You should have been the national champions that year.
I had Philip Fulmer, whose Tennessee Vol team won the national championship. I had him sit right in that seat. This is no lie, probably about 7 months ago. He was in town for a college Hall of Fame deal, and we have a mutual friend. And I broke down to him exactly how we were going to attack his defense. He found it funny, but also very accurate and on point. I said, I was honest, I didn't have a solution for how we're going to defend their run game because this is old school, tight end, fullback,
exactly.
The big guys. But it would have been a good game.
That's like Bo Schembechler when Jim Harbaugh got the job at Stanford. He called him up. Have you got a tight end? Have you got a fullback?
Now it's come full circle because now the question, and I think we're going to get into this, Brent, is can you win in the NFL with a quarterback that can't move?
Well, so let me give you the quarterbacks, the ones that are struggling. The older quarterback, Tom Brady, we saw him lose on Thursday night. He's 3-5 overall. Aaron Rodgers has got a tough assignment up in Buffalo tonight. He's 3-4. Now, Russell Wilson did just win in London, played a little bit better in the second half in particular, so he's 3-4. They're 9-13. What do we make of these aging quarterbacks? All of them go in the Hall of Fame. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and I think each case is a little different. With Tom, unfortunately, Father Time doesn't give you a 2-week notice. In professional sports. You just show up to compete one day and you can see it, but you can't do it. And I think this is a combination of Tom finally getting old. Maybe it's all of the stuff in his life going on. It's just stress.
The divorce could not have helped.
Right. That it's difficult. And also the comfortability on the Tampa team. Everybody's rich. Everybody has a ring. This isn't the hungry bunch.
That's a great point.
Yeah, this isn't the hungry bunch, Brent, 2 years ago when he came from New England. This is a group, everybody's got a ring, everybody's gotten paid. It's harder to get up and be self-motivated for athletes sometimes when they're at this point.
Exactly. Now, Aaron Rodgers, a little bit different situation.
Yeah, I just think it was the organization. When you've had a commodity like Rodgers, you should know it in and out. As talented as he is, you've never heard his teammates rant about leadership or his ability to get the best out of players. It's like you got to put great players around Aaron, and then you got a chance to win at a high level. So I don't think this was ever going to work. Young players, inexperienced players without production. Like even his guys were coming back. Alan Lazard, he's never been a one. Then the guys that do have resumes are older. Their bodies are breaking down. And that's Sammy Watkins and Randall Cobb. So I didn't think this was going to work. Aaron's personality doesn't seem to be, hey, let me stay after practice and work with you guys. Let's do an extra signals meeting. And so that's what they're going through. Russell Wilson, who won today, I just think the expectations were ahead of where Denver actually is as an organization. I mean, you're talking about a first-time head coach. You're talking about a quarterback that's overachieved. I mean, if you go back to when Russell Wilson was selected in the third round, Matt Flynn had just gotten a big contract to be the Seahawks starter. They were drafting Russ to be a backup. And ultimately, he outperformed that draft slot, outperformed anyone's expectations. But I also think he's on the back end of his career. Everybody doesn't get to 45. Russ is mid-30s, doesn't move like he used to. The rest of the Broncos, Hackett, first-year head coach, inexperienced. That roster, I think people were put in the cart before the horse with Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and those guys. They're young, talented players, but they didn't have multiple Pro Bowls and multiple 1,000-yard seasons on the resume. So I just think you got a lot of new pieces trying to fit together. And I think at the end of the day, they'll be okay. I don't think they're a championship team, but I think they're a borderline playoff team.
Doesn't move like he used to. I want to follow up on that. Russell is not as big, not as tall as either Brady or Rodgers. And you having been in there, when that pocket clogs up downfield and you've got to move to find a line of vision, how much does that affect a quarterback, Shaun?
It's easier if you're 6'5". It's much easier if you're 6'5" and genetically wired like Josh Allen,
Right.
and you can do all of it.
I hear you about that.
But I will say this about Russ, and this is probably my biggest criticism of Russ. How genuine is Russ? Like, sometimes Russ comes off as maybe like winning football games isn't his biggest priority right now. And I always feel like him and his collection of advisors have like this 10-year plan, and him being the greatest quarterback for the Denver Broncos is not necessarily at the top of that plan. So it's a very difficult game. It's the most difficult position in all of sports. And if you aren't 100% locked into it, then you're not going to reach your full potential.
I have done games in London. I've been in and out of there also as a tourist. And Russell coming out and saying he worked out for about 4 hours of that trip, I'm thinking, are you kidding me? If you were walking past me and
you woke
doing
me
those
up?
high knees, woke me up, and I'm trying to get some sleep, and I was in NFL, I'd be livid.
And that's the part of Russell that, I mean, you got to give him his credit, his props, because if whatever he's wanted to do, he's gotten it done. But how does that information get out? Like, to me, that's you're pushing a narrative. You're trying to...
He pushed it.
Right, yeah. And I just want to play good football, Russ. Just start with that.
I want to go to the other side of the coin. We have got two quarterbacks making their first start today. Okay, neither of them have thrown a pass in a regular season game. Sam Ehlinger is going to go for the Colts, and Malik Willis is going to go for the Titans because of Tannehill is out with the ankle and also an illness. Tell me the difficulty making that first start when you step out there on the field. It's not like a preseason game. The big boys are out there, and it's big-time football. Here they come.
I think Ehlinger, because he's not a rookie, he's played some preseason games. Mm-hmm. More importantly, he's had to what word am I looking for? He's had to mentally come to grips with what failure looks like, because Carson Wentz failed while he was there. Matt Ryan has failed while he was there. So I think there's a baseline emotionally that he has. Him being at home helps a lot. I actually think Sam Ehlinger, when I scouted him coming out of Texas, reminds me a lot of Jalen Hurts. Very similar skill set. I wouldn't be surprised because of his mobility, the fact that he can move around, extend some plays, that they play pretty well today. You know, Malik Willis is a little different because he's on the road going up again. The crowd's not going to be crazy in Houston, but it'll still be louder, you know, when he's trying to communicate on offense than it would if he was in Nashville. But I think this might be exactly what the doctor ordered for Coach Vrabel, because I think they've reached the heights of where Tannehill can take them. And it's not an offense to Tannehill, but there are some guys, Tannehill, Kirk Cousins, you know, I think even Carr here at the Raiders in some ways. You can only get so far unless something that we haven't seen from that quarterback emerges. And Malik, there's the unknown. Is he going to be efficient? Probably not. But is he going to be able to create some plays, extend some drives that you wouldn't get with Tannehill? Absolutely. Now, the question comes turnovers. Can he limit the turnovers while he's trying to be creative? That's the one thing with young quarterbacks that you just don't know until they get out there. When the pressure's in their face on third down, do they panic and throw it to the other team, or do they do the smart thing, throw it away and punt? Peyton Manning taught me this when I was in Indy. He'd say punting has never lost a game.
That's true.
Yeah, and that was his approach.
In fact, I think about this in the last game with the Chargers and the Raiders. They went for a fourth down. The Chargers did their own, 25 yards. I said, what are you thinking of? I mean, make the Raiders driving. The whole idea of the gambles on fourth down, I think a lot of coaches make a mistake.
I don't recognize the game. I don't know when 3 points became a bad option.
Yeah, I don't either. Anyway, okay, Shaun, I looked ahead at your Tulane guys. They were off this week. Go to Tulsa next week, and then Central Florida, SMU, and at Cincinnati. I hope they can keep it going, but they got their hands full.
Well, we got the defense to handle all of those opponents. One of the few teams that completely shut down Kansas State, Tulane. It's offensively where we've got to just find more consistency. Michael Pratt's getting better. We'll see.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.